What's up, YouTube? It is your boy JB, and I am here today with the review for Power Book 2 Ghost. This is season 1, episode number 5, the mid-season finale, and it was titled The Gift of Magi. I believe that's what it is. All right, you guys. So without further ado, we're going to go ahead and get into this episode review, shall we? All right, you guys. So this episode, it starts out. Now we see what I thought was a dream sequence because it's Tariq's 18th birthday. And we see Tasha, we see Big Mama, and we see Yaz. I thought it was a dream because we were seeing Yaz and Tasha in the scene together. Hell, we see in Yaz, period. And we know Tasha's in jail, or so we think. So then, I knew it was further. We went further, and I knew it was a dream because we saw Raina. I'm like, yep, this is a dream because Raina's dead. And Tasha was looking at her like, she was so surprised to see her. But Raina, she was kind of figuring like, why is she looking at me? Like, why are you looking at me like this, Mom? Like, it's my birthday. Did Tariq beat me home? The reason why Mom was looking at you like that is because you're dead. So then Tasha wakes up in her jail cell and, she calls Tariq up. She tells him happy birthday. And then she tells Tariq that, she wants him to come and see her. He says he'll come see her, but he has a test that he needs to go take. And, she says, okay, well, go take care of that. But we see that Tariq notices that Kane is outside of his school. So then we see Monet. So Monet is having this conversation with Diana. And, she's giving Diana advice on basically how to work a nigga, make him, fall in love with, the vision of you that he sees in him, sees of himself and stuff like that. And, Diana's like, so just fuck him basically. And, Monet was like, you got to offer him a lot more than just pussy. So then, Ramirez pulls up and Monet goes to the door. Ramirez wants to come in and Monet is like, get the fuck out of here. Monet is exerting her power over him. I'm like, ooh. I'm like, okay, I'm a little intrigued by this. So then we see Tariq and Kane. They pull up as well. And, Tariq and Kane both, recognize Ramirez. And, Tariq asks him, is he family? He's like, nah, he's a dirty cop. And, so he was like, so, what is Monet, he's getting from Monet. You know what he's getting from Monet, Tariq. And then, Tariq is talking about the fact that the dirty cops are worse than the regular cops. And then, Kane tells him basically that when it comes down to what Ramirez is doing is that he's basically just feeding them information and they keeping him around for as long as they need him. So then, Kane and Tariq go inside the house. And Kane has, like I've said before, Kane is a hothead. So he asking, Monet, like, what the fuck was he doing here? And Monet, Diana told him, like, chill out. And Monet is like, first of all, we don't talk about family business in front of company. And then, Kane is like, well, I feel like you turning your back on family. Monet was like, watch your motherfucking mouth, dude. Watch your mouth. So, so then once Kane leaves, it's just Monet and Tariq. And Monet asks Tariq about the drawing that Drew did. And she asks him if he knows who the guy is. He says, no, I don't know who the guy is. You might want to ask Zeke. So then we see that Tariq got a text message from Sax. And I'll talk about that in just a little bit, that text message with Sax. So then we see Tariq. So Tariq goes to class. He's late per usual. And, Jabari is grilling him about being late to class. And then he said, that 15-page paper that you had due, it was due at the beginning of class. Now it's a 25-page paper. So then after class, Jabari goes up to Tariq. Jabari is talking to Tariq, and basically it's the whole song and dance of we as black people we gotta be better than our Caucasian counterparts. You gotta be on time. You can't be late, stuff like that. So then we later, so I'm gonna include Jabari and Carrie in this whole situation, okay? So then we later see Jabari. So Jabari was meeting with, I thought it was his publisher, but it was his agent. And his agent was telling him about the book. Like his first book was a hit. That second book was a complete flop. So at this point, this next book that he comes out with, it has to be a bona fide hit or else he's gonna get dropped from, his agent. So then Tariq, comes to where Jabari and his agent are, and he drops off the paper. And he apologizes to Jabari because I didn't mention it, but when Jabari was trying to grill him about being late to class, Tariq told him like I have one dad, don't mention my parents and shit like that. But he apologizes to him. So then we later in the episode see Jabari in his office, and Carrie comes by, and like I said, Jabari's supposed to be writing this book, but instead of writing the book, he's online ordering shoes. Carrie comes in, and he asked her like, stay with me tonight, stay with me so I can get this book done. I'm like, dude, you just want to fuck. I'm gonna be like I said last week's review. Jabari and Carrie are two characters that I can kind of do without, because when it comes down to Jabari and Carrie, we don't have a lot of backstory about them. So that's just the problem that I have with those two. There's not much backstory. We just have more fucking with these two. Not a lot of backstory. But Carrie tells him no. But we see Carrie, and Carrie went out to eat. And Zeke, I'm sorry, but the guy that plays Zeke is just ugly. No shade to the man or nothing, but that he's just, ugh. They couldn't pick nobody better to play Zeke. That was shady, but I'm not trying to be shady. So like I said, Zeke, you guys remember I think it was like the first or second episode, he was flirting with Carrie. I'm like, eventually this is gonna come to a head that she gonna fuck this kid. So like I said, he was flirting with her. And she was sitting down, her phone started to ring, and it was Jabari. She ignored it. So then, I think they were still at the bar, and she's like, oh, it's getting late, I need to go home. And once again, her phone rings, and it's Jabari. She ignores the call, and then we see Carrie and Zeke go to the bathroom, and they fucking in the bathroom. I'm like, oh my God. Could we have done without this? Seriously. So then Jabari, let's talk about him and finish him up. So you guys remember I said Jabari had that paper from Tariq. I knew that this was going to happen. I called it from the beginning when his agent was telling him that his next book had to be good or else he was getting dropped. I'm like, and then when I saw Tariq come in that restaurant with that paper, I'm like, Jabari's going to plagiarize this whole thing, steal Tariq's work, and make it his own. And this is exactly what he did. I'm like, you stealing the work from an 18-year-old. You're pathetic. And I'm moving on. All right, you guys remember I was saying that Sax texts Tariq. So let's back up just a little bit before we get there. So Sax, he went over to talk to Tamika. And, he's telling Tamika that she can't get on the stand and say that, she was, that he told her that he was at truth. She says, well, if I get on the stand, Sax, I have to tell that truth. And then she says, I have to tell that, so you said that someone is blackmailing you. She says, the good thing for you is that you did not tell me who that person was. So, she tells him that at this point, you need to drop the fucking charge because you know that Tasha's not the queen pin. And, he tells her he has no choice. She says, you always have a choice. She says, you know what, Sax, don't tell me what it is. But she says, if I do take the stand, Sax, you're fucked, which is true. He is fucked. So then you guys remember I said he texts Tariq. So Sax is talking to Tariq about this whole situation with Tamika. And that, Tamika was subpoenaed to come to court by his lawyer. And Tariq was like, well, that sounds like a bit of a you problem. And, he shows him the subpoena. He's talking about, the fact that, Tasha and Tamika were working together. He says, but, Tamika was working for my mom, so she can't say anything that was revealed to her. He says, correct, she can't. But he said, but I did tell her that, that someone saw me at truth. I didn't, he didn't tell her that it was him. He says, and I ain't tell nobody, so I don't give a fuck. So get that shit out of my face. And then he's, Sax is telling him basically that if she gets on the stand and they're able to put two and two together, that they would have to put him on the stand, and then Sax would have to cross-examine him. So then, we see Tariq, he gets out the car and he texts an unknown number to call him. So it was actually Tasha that called him, and Tariq asked him, Tasha, did she know about Davis putting, what's her name? What's the old girl name again? Tamika on the stand. She says yes, because, Davis feels like this will blow Sax's case. If anything, can get Sax off the case. And Tariq tells her, but this is too risky, and that this could place him at at Truth when everything happened. She said, so you didn't tell me this? He says, yes. He says, I was doing this to protect you. She said, you're just like Ghost. He said, I'm nothing like him. He said, I'm doing this to protect you. She says, exactly. That's something that your dad would say. So, because he said, he told her he was blackmailing Saxe to help her. And, she tells him, like, Tamika was fired. I fired Tamika because she was getting close to figuring out that you are the one that actually shot your dad. So she says that they need to get Tamika off the stand. And Tariq was talking about, we need to take care of her. So then she tells him, she would have Davis pull the subpoena, but he needs to go and talk to Tamika and try to get Tamika to, come down from getting on the stand to testify against him. So then we do see Tasha. So Tasha is talking to Davis, and she's telling Davis that, she wants him to retract the subpoena. Davis tell her this is the only chance that we have to possibly even get Saxe. Like, Tamika knows all of Saxe's dirty dealings. She knows where all the bodies are buried. So we need her to help you. And Tasha was like, no. He's like, it's a done deal. She's already, I've asked her to be on. I've subpoenaed her. She's going to be on the stand. So at this point, Tasha is kind of fucked up. And it's more so because of Tariq and, his whole dealings. So then, I got ahead of myself. So Tasha called Tariq once again, and she told him, she wasn't able to stop Davis. And, he tells her that, if Tamika does go on the stand and it does come out about him, he's ready to he's ready to deal with it. And that's when Tasha told him that he needed to go and, convince Tamika not to get on the stand. And I'm like, are you asking him to kill, an officer of the court? Oh, we going real dirty, huh? So then we do see, Saxe, not Saxe, but Tariq, he goes over to Tamika's, and he does tell Tamika that he saw Saxe at Truth the night that his dad was murdered. And, he said, he's like, I'm willing to go on the stand and say that, I saw Tommy Egan shoot my dad. She was like, your mother's already said that. So then, he's holding on to that gun. I'm like, Tariq, you'll be really stupid to kill this woman. Like, that would really draw a red flag at that point. If you killed her, that would let it be known that you guys are hiding something. If you kill Tamika, who was supposed to go on the stand, that would be idiotic as hell. Like, don't do that shit. So then I wasn't really following this too well. I don't know if he was saying that, he's afraid of Tommy or whatever. So then there was a knock at the door. So Tamika went to the door, and it's Davis. And she told Davis that it wasn't a good time. And Davis was like, is Saxe in there? Nope, it's Tariq that's in there. So, he come in the house, yelling for Saxe, but again, it's not Saxe, it's Tariq. And so, Tariq dips out, and Tamika's like, okay, at this point, you and I, we need to sit down and have a conversation with each other. So then we see Tasha call, and, she's calling, telling Tariq that it didn't work. And, she is still taking the stand, that Tamika's still taking the stand. And then she calls Davis's office and tells Davis, I don't know if she got a voicemail or if she got his secretary, but she told him that she wants to take a deal. So yeah. I'm gonna pause right here, and then we're gonna wrap up the episode. All right, you guys, and then next we see Saxe. So Saxe is out with his niece Riley, and he's asking her if she has any information on Tariq. He says he needs something because Tasha's saying that she's broke, but she got this high-powered attorney who's paying for this, and where's the money coming from? So he needs to prove that the money is dirty. So she said, well, I did hear Tariq's grandmother call, and she was asking him for money. Like, that's kind of odd. He's a college student. I would think that he would be calling her, asking her for money. And then he asked her, how do you even know this? Oh, that's because she's been fucking Braden. And he's like, I didn't tell you to do that. But then he realizes he can use that to his advantage. So he tells her, keep tabs on them and report back to him. So then we later see Riley out with Braden, and they are at a liquor store, and they're buying alcohol for a party that Braden is throwing for Tariq. And what's his name? Zeke shows up as well. Now Zeke was flirting hard with Riley. I'm like, damn, you flirt with anything that wears a skirt, huh? So then, Riley is asking, Brayden questions about Tariq. And I'm like, Brayden, do you not realize that she's working you? And, he's talking about how Tariq goes missing at times. He's like, missing, and, where does he go? He says, I don't know. And I'm like, Brayden, you're giving her too much information. Like, don't you think it's weird that you just met this girl and now she's asking about your roommate? Like, that's not a red flag to you? Okay. All right, you guys. Somebody called my phone. I don't know who it was, but we see Tariq. Now, Tariq, he's out with Drew, and he's telling Drew about Monet and the situation with the drawing. He's like, Monet was, I think she was trying to figure out if, you are. He was like, nigga, it ain't a secret. Everybody in my family knows that I'm gay. So, Drew tells Tariq that Monet is testing his loyalty, and that could be a good thing or it could be a bad thing. But he also tells Tariq, you might want to look out for yourself, buddy. So then we see Monet. So she's talking to Diana about this drawing as well. And she's telling Diana that, Tariq sent her to talk to Zeke about this. And she's like, why do you think that is? And she was like, well, maybe Tariq has, some kind of loyalty to Drew. She's like, exactly. And she's like, and Kane doesn't even like Tariq. So she's like, that would make it hard for, he doesn't like Kane. Kane and Tariq don't like each other, but Kane and Drew are cool. So with that, they will never be able to find out how Tariq is moving the drugs, and if they can, if they ever get an opportunity, if they could cut him out. So now it's up to her. She wants, Diana to try to, see what she can get out of Tariq. And so she tells her, like, what you need to do is you need to get work Tariq and make sure that no females are around. So then we see, the party that, Brayden was throwing for Tariq. We see everybody is at the party. Now, Tariq, when he got there, Tariq almost had to fight Brayden's brother because he was drunk and he wasted his alcohol on him. So then, once again, like I said, Riley, she's with Brayden. She keeps asking these questions about Tariq to the point that Brayden was like, why the fuck do you keep asking about him? Like, stop. So then, Brayden leaves to go check on Tariq. He gives her his cup to, fill up his drink. And in the process, she's spiking his drink with some drugs. So then we see Drew is there, Zeke, and Diana shows up. And you guys remember I said that Monet told her that, she got to get close to him, make sure that no females are around. So Zeke was about to call over some girls, and Diana was like, beat it, buzzers, like, get out of here. So then we see Drew. I really felt bad for Drew in this whole scene because the dude Everett that he was with in last week's episode, Drew wanted to give his man a hug, and he was like, oh, what's up, my nigga? I was like, damn, that is fucked up. Like, but it happens. So then we see Tariq. So Tariq is talking to Diana because Drew dipped out, and Drew hasn't come back yet. So, Tariq is worried about Drew and, the neighborhood that they're in and what could happen to him. So Diana was like, because Diana at first was trying to figure out, like, why is he so concerned? But then she was like, okay, let's go try to find him. So then Lauren shows up, and she comes in. She walks up to Brayden and Riley, and Brayden goes over to Tariq, telling him that Lauren is there, and that she comes over. She asks, "Who is that?" He said, "Oh, this is Zeke's cousin Diana." She said, "Ziana." See, my closed caption said Ziana, but I don't know. So Tariq, he ends up walking off with Lauren with his hands around, his arm around her shoulder. I'm like, oh, so you just gonna dip out on Miss Diana? Cool. So then we see Drew. So Drew is in the car talking to Everett, and Everett is giving him the bullshit about the fact that, because Drew's like, if you feel the same way that I feel, like, it shouldn't be no problem. But him being a basketball player, he got a reputation to uphold. And Diana comes out and finds them, and Everett once again is playing like, oh, we just homies, like, we in class together. I'm having him design one of my tattoos. I'm gonna shout him out when I get to the NBA. And Drew was like, you my sister already knows, so you don't have to lie to her. And then, they mentioned the fact that they're Zeke's cousin. Like, so you Zeke's cousin? And he got upset about that and walked out on Drew, and Drew chasing behind him. So then we see Tariq and Lauren. So Tariq and Lauren, they are upstairs in Braden's brother's room, and they're talking. And that she's talking about he's a lightweight, and he's talking about the fact that he saw his father drinking, and he doesn't want to end up like his dad. So then they were about to kiss, and as they were about to kiss, she was like, "This ain't how I want it to happen. Like, you drunk." And Tariq just passes out. I'm like, oh, Tariq is passed out because he got the drink that was meant for Braden. And then, Riley comes in and she takes Tariq's phone out. I didn't realize what she was doing. I noticed that I saw her open his phone. I was like, is she, I didn't figure it out at first, but then I finally figured out, oh, she's tracking his phone where he's going. So then, when she walks out of the room, Braden's drunk ass brother is there talking about, you fucking my brother and his homie. Like, can I get some? I'm like, dude, sit your drunk ass down. You probably can't even get it up. So then we see Tariq. So actually, his brother went in there, got on Tariq, threw him out of his room. Tariq went downstairs and went off on Braden. And he went off on Braden. So then he went outside. He went outside, and Diana was sitting there. He was trying to talk to Diana, and Diana was like, at this point, I just want to be left alone. But Diana also noticed that gun that he had is in his backpack, so she took the gun and kept it on her. So then we see Riley. So Riley calls Sax, and she's telling Sax what she's been doing, that she's been asking questions. He was like, why the fuck are you asking questions? I didn't tell you to do that. He said, I told you to keep tabs on them. He said, I need you to keep tabs on them. So she tells him that she drugged him, and that she also found, is tracking his phone. So then we see that Sax followed him and recorded him because he went to the cemetery, talked to Raina's grave, and he talked to Ghost's grave as well. So then the next morning, Braden is upset at how, Tariq has been treating him. And, Tariq finally, tells him everything that's going on with Kane, Monet, Drew, all of them. And he told them, on the chessboard, what piece is what piece. And then we also see Braden's brother stealing the drawers. I'm like, ooh, you finna get your ass fucked up. And then let's move back up to Monet. So, Diana, now after the next day, Diana is telling Monet the situation that happened with Drew. And then, she also tells her about Tariq. And that, basically Tariq was just pushed her to the side. And then, she tells Monet that she got the gun from Tariq. And Monet was like, what the fuck? Why would you do that? That was stupid. Girl, get the hell out of here. I'm like, that was a little bit stupid, Diana. Got to keep it real with you. That was stupid. Let's pause here and move on and wrap the episode up, you guys. All right, you guys, and then let's talk about the last two scenes of the episode. So we see Kane, Tariq, and Monique. They at her crib. Kane is patting down Tariq to make sure he ain't got nothing on him. So Monet asked Tariq, like, why did you lie to me about the whole situation with Drew to protect Drew? And basically, in a nutshell, Tariq has got her number. He know what she's up to. He knew that she sent Diana to, try to run game on him. And then she asked him, so of my kids, which one can I trust the most? Which one can I trust? He said, me. She's like, my nigga. And I'm like, okay, I guess. It's interesting, this dynamic between Tariq and Monet. So then she tells Kane, like, hand over your burner to Tariq. He was like, fuck no. He's like, I bet you didn't even know how to use it. And she was like, hand it over. And Kane will hand it over. And he said, thank you. He said, fuck you. Kane is pissed. Kane is going to do something stupid. I just have a feeling that it's coming. Kane is going to do something that's going to get them all in a big heap of trouble. So then at the end of the episode, we see that Sax, he has Davis in his office. And, Davis is telling him that Tamika told him that, he was at Truth the night that James St. Patrick died. Now, he doesn't think that, he killed him, but, this doesn't look good because you kept this information from the NYPD. So he says, drop the charges. And Sax is like, I can't do that. And he says, Tasha also wants to make a deal with me. He says, how do you know that? He says, because one of the guards overheard her, and I'm pretty sure I know why she wants these charges dropped. So then he shows him the recording of Tariq at Ghost's grave, talking about him doing it. So at this point, they both make a deal with each other. The only thing that Davis is concerned about is getting Tasha out of jail. And, the only thing that Saxe is worried about is catching a killer. So, he was like, so you don't care about Tariq? He was like, Tariq is not my client. Tasha is. And this goes back to what, Carrie told Tariq in last week's episode. She forewarned him. Sometimes a win with Davis might not be at the detriment of his client. It might be against them. And if this deal, I don't know if Davis is playing Saxe or if this is actually real, but we shall see, you guys. But overall, this was a good episode. Be sure to like this video, leave your comments in the comment section below, subscribe to the channel, hit that bell notification button so you guys are aware of when I drop anything else. Share this video, and until the next one, you guys, do me a solid favor. Stay safe, take care of yourselves, stay hydrated, wash your hands, wear a mask, and I will see you guys later. Bye.